Hello, everybody. It's Steph Norbury here from the Amusement Network. And this week we are joined by Paul Slavin, director of FatCat. Hello, Paul. How are you?
Very good, thank you. You
Thank you
okay?
very much for joining me today. It's great to see you.
No
And
problem.
I thought a good point to start would be I've known you for years, but just to give us a little recap about your history in the industry and the history of FatCat. How long has FatCat been trading now?
As FatCat, it's been since 2015. Before that, we were Fat Spanner. And obviously, with Fat Spanner, we were sort of 20 odd years at Fat Spanner, quite a long time, mainly focusing in SWP throughout the years until that sort of the not so slow demise of SWP, really, I suppose. At which point, this is me and Dave Ash started Fat Cat with the sole purpose, really, of focusing more on AWP products rather than the SWP. However, when we first started out, one of our first big projects was our retro arcade product,
I remember that.
which yeah, it did well. We did quite a lot of them through some of the major operators. So yeah, we started there, but really the focus at that point was on the AWP. But it obviously takes a bit of time to develop a decent suite of games for AWP, and it has taken time, but I think we reached a point where we were really happy with what we'd got
Yes, yes.
in
Well,
content sort of not so long back.
you certainly seem to have been making some bold moves recently. Um, what's the reason for that? Would you say that you've spotted an opportunity in the market?
Yeah, I mean, bold moves. I think we were accused early doors back in the day at Fat Spanner as being disruptive,
Mm,
and I think that's just sort of certainly in my nature. Certainly, it was in our nature to look at the business and look at what was happening in the business, who was in the business, what they were doing, and looking if there was a way of sort of disrupting that and doing things
yeah.
slightly differently. We succeeded with that, I think, in the SWP market, and yeah, and really sort of trying to do that again in the AWP market. I mean, we focus on independence, I suppose, at the moment, and our real push with our Ace of Games product is to have a really good variety of games, and we've always pushed the fact that we have a very broad spectrum of games, whether it's be
Mm,
5 reel slots, pub slots, complex cat C B4 games. We've got bingo, poker, roulette, unique in having horse racing.
yeah.
So yeah, that along with continuing down the route and sticking by our guns with no dongle fees, no
Yes, yes,
license fees of any kind. Our
yes,
belief has always been that the machine is the operator's machine, and
yeah,
they should be allowed to do with that machine as they please.
yeah.
So we
What's the
offer.
reaction been, Paul, since you've released this? I mean, I would have thought it was music to their ears, really.
Yeah, it's kept us busy, put it that way. Yeah, I think a lot of the operators, they just like to be in control of their machines. They like the fact that we offer a premium game suite with all of the extras that you would expect, I suppose, with all the cashless payment,
Yeah.
broad spectrum of different peripherals that can be used depending on the operator's likes. So yeah, we offer everything but just allow them to stay in control. You know, our updates are regular, and if you want to pay, they're a paid for update, but it's up to you whether you want to do it or not. You know, in some
Yes.
operators, they'll update some of the machines. Others they don't feel need updating just yet, or they've only just moved site, so they don't feel that it needs updating right now. And
Yeah.
again, it's just in the operator's control. Let them decide what they feel fit with their machine, and we cater for their demands, really.
Yeah. So they're not forced into paying for stuff they don't need. And
Well, there's a lot of sites that just don't warrant that. You know, it's great having expensive machines with the latest content and costing an arm and a leg in it for some people, in a site that just doesn't warrant it. You know, so I think again, it's for the operator to decide, and that's always been our point, really.
yeah. What are we going to see next week at EAG 2024 from you, and where?
We've got our Ace of Games Ultra cabinet, with sevens above on their stand. They will also have our new G squared Casino King Plus conversion, which will be on their cabinet, on their stand rather, which is a full factory refurb of the G squared machines, a lot of which are coming off site at the moment. A lot of operators don't know what to do with them. And one thing that we've always been good at FatCat is being able to adapt our software onto different cabinets. Our software is very modular and just allows us very easily to slip it into any cabinet really we desire. So that goes out with our new gaming PC platform that's in the Ultra, and also has all the cashless and data port and all the other features that Ace of Games Ultra's got. The other big thing that we'll be showing at EAG is our new Quonnect system, which is a fully integrated management system for monitoring and management system for our machines, both on Ultra and the G squared conversion, which we call G Star. So that's called the G Star cabinet. And it allows you to monitor and manage the entire cabinet completely and utterly, from whether it's remotely changing the denomination of the note recycler, changing the cabinet lighting, obviously float levels, along with being able to monitor game stats, game performance. You know, you can do a fairly deep dive into your game performance. You know, all down to things like your average stake of each individual game, which again helps us when developing games, looking at where each game sits on its average stake. And so a very advanced system.
Yes.
Obviously it alerts as well on any particular machine faults.
Paul, was this in response to operator demand, or was this something that you felt was becoming an industry feature and you wanted to be able to offer it as well?
Well, the irony is, going back to the top of the interview where I said at Fat Spanner we were known to be a bit disruptive, and we were quite keen to do that. We actually developed a system to remotely connect our machines probably nearly 20 years ago. However, then I think we were a little bit ahead of the curve, and operators weren't at that point really very keen on having data available in this new thing called the internet, and what was going to happen to the data, who was going to be able to see it, and one thing or another. So we've known about the advantages of it for decades. However, it was obviously never really became required on the SWP product. But once we were fully invested in the AWP products that we're doing, it was only right really to bring it back. How, albeit it being completely new system, rewritten, and but yeah, very much I think a need of the market now. I think there's a number of operators that said to us that they wouldn't consider buying a machine now that wasn't connected.
Right.
So yeah, it was bumped up our to-do list last year. And it was actually bumped in front of our Tito development, which we've been planning to do for some time, which again, I'm happy to say, going back to your original question, is now complete, and we will have a Tito Acer Games Ultra machine on the Crown Direct stand at EAG.
Right.
So that's B4 and Cat C, or a hybrid of the two.
Now, excuse my ignorance here, but you're talking about the G-Star conversions, and what exactly is the difference between the conversions and your premium product? Because it seems to me is that the content's much the same, they're both connected. Is it just down to the way it looks and the age of the cabinet?
Yeah, I mean the cabinet itself, the Casino King Plus cabinet from G Squared is a very good cabinet, and we've always had success with rebuild cabinets with our Astra cabinets and our 777 cabinets. What we realised over the late 22-23 was it was actually the old rebuild cabinets that were holding the software back. They were holding the game packs back, through no fault of the operator, and rightly so. The machines were being put in very much secondary or positions in pubs and in where they were being put. I say quite rightly so, you know, that's what they were originally designed to do.
Sure.
And it was only when we started putting content into a premium cabinet and getting best position, or good
better
positions,
carpet space, really.
Yeah, and we started getting the data through from that, and realizing that our cabinets were indexing above a mix of all other premium cabinets. You know, I'm not going to say 100% of the time, because nobody could ever say that, but the operators that were operating them and the machines that they were replacing with ours, they were very, very happy with the results. So we realized that there was really no point going down the rebuild anymore, and we should focus on premium. And then what should happen is what happened with G Squared happened. There was an influx of these cabinets into the market, and they were still a very good cabinet. The only issues we were getting reported with the cabinets were a lot of operators were very, very keen to not use the existing PC hardware, because they weren't happy with it, with the reliability and whatever. So yeah, we completely take all of that out, and we put in new PC technology along with a lot of other stuff, to bring it back up to a premium product, because I believe the cabinet still can sit in that space, because it's not a very old cabinet, and it's a very good cabinet. Nice big monitors, nice lighting. You know, we sort of decal it a little bit more just to refresh it and whatever, and it's a great looking product.
Well, good to keep using these things until the end of their lives, rather than scrapping them for no good reason, really, isn't it? at the end of the day as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you know, it was partly our idea, and it was partly the idea of operators that came to us and said, we've got some of these cabinets, is there anything you can do with them? And you know, we've often found it difficult to say no to any challenge like that. And yeah, and I mean, it's helped a lot of operators out. You know, these things were looming to be scrapped, a lot of these cabinets, and now they've got a new lease of life. So
Fantastic.
by the time, you know, I think by the time we've run out of these G-square cabinets, there'll be another cabinet round the corner which is being taken off site, because that's the industry and that's the way it works.
That's the industry.
You know?
We won't conjecture which ones. We'll just say that's the industry. And, but one of your USPs, and you mentioned it before, is this horse racing game that you've got.
Yeah,
it's one of your most popular games, isn't it?
Well, it is on. I wouldn't say it's our most popular game, but it's certainly a game that is most popular, very popular in an awful lot of sites.
Yeah.
Because it's so unique and it's something that is only on our cabinet. You find you have a number of sites where people really like the game and they really play it, and then, you know, obviously you get other sites where other games are more popular, but yeah, it's always performed well and it's always had its place on the menu. And it's yeah, again, it was a very large development some time ago, because the whole thing is rendered in 3D. It's not video,
right.
So you never get the same race twice. There's so many variables, and yeah, it's a good game. It's just something different. It's something that players like. You know, not everybody is a slot player. You know, there's a lot of people that maybe don't go up to fruit machines, I'll call them fruit machines, that often in pubs, because they don't think there's anything on them for them. Because they think it's a bunch of 5 real slots, which in fairness, in the grand scheme of things, it is true. We're just trying to break that mold and develop a product that just has far more interest to far more players. And the horse racing plays a big part in that, along with you know, the bingo and the Pachenko and the different games like that. And we're soon we do also have greyhound racing in development as well. So we continue to try and develop games that nobody else is developing.
Yes, I think it's true. I mean, we're all attracted to different styles of game, aren't we? And I always think when you go to the arcade, you see the old sort of Whitaker style derby games, the horse racing games. You know, they're often the most played games.
And I think, you know, we look at it and think, well, you know, certainly beyond the pub, with the opening up, I think of category B product in AGCs fairly soon, and the increased numbers that will go into there, that AGCs, unlike pubs that have probably a wider variety of players, you know, gender, age group and everything in there. I think it's important that you don't just offer 5 real slots to these people, because like I say, a lot of them, they're not interested in 5 real slots and they're looking for something else to play. And so that's the gap that we fill, really. Yes.
And your games, they are switchable between Cat C and Cat B4, isn't it? Have I got that right?
Yeah, every single game is geared for Cat C and B4.
Yeah.
Unlike an awful lot of other developers, I think we've only ever been interested in land-based, and we've never really looked at venturing into online. Now, for us, I think the advantage of that is our games from the ground up are built for land-based. They're not an online game that is then trimmed
Yeah.
down and the percentages trimmed down and everything to then be to put onto retail. So the games are very much geared up from the ground up for that. And yeah, they all start off as Cat C and B4. Now you can every single game on the system is both Cat C and B4. If you have a B4 license and you're running the cabinet as B4, any game can be switched to run as Cat C or B4 on that menu. So you can create a hybrid menu of both Cat C and B4. And along with that, every single game individually or on block can have the payout percentage adjusted from anywhere between 72 and 98% in 2% increments. So you can really cater for and tailor a menu for each site depending on what that site wants. And again, the Quonnect system allowing you to see what's being played and at what stake, it really gives you great control over your product.
I was thinking you're going to get some very interesting data from this now to see sort of what kind of mix seems to work well in what kind of location. And
yeah, absolutely. But I say through the Quonnect system, you know, the operator can sit in their office and see exactly what's happened and change it on their PC, laptop, tablet, mobile. They can change anything they want there, and it's instantly changed on the machine remotely. So you know, they can be very, very proactive if they want to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now you mentioned before about being a disruptor. We spoke back at ACOS. We had a chat about AI and the opportunities it might offer to the industry and game designers. What are your thoughts on this, essentially, and what part FatCat might play?
Well, from being a creative, from being at university and growing up being creative, and then being part of the web industry when the web was brand new, and being very early in that, working for companies when everyone was trying to fathom out how they could get a website and what a website was. I've always looked at new technologies, whether it's hardware or software. I'd always been really interested, really passionate about all of these new developments. And for my mind, there is no doubt at all that AI is the biggest leap, certainly in software, in innovations since the birth of the internet. And it's inevitably going to have its bad points, I think, but there is also so much good. And from a creative point of view, it is just fantastic. I mean, it's such a powerful tool on a number of different levels, that I mean, we embraced it a couple of years ago, when it first came out. It really interested me, and I've been involved in it and followed it with interest since then. And and we've gradually found out how we can make it work for us, really, when it comes to game development, and what it can offer as developers, and you know, and then passing that on, what benefits and what that offers the actual player. I obviously don't really want to say too much about what we do, because it's
don't want to give away the trade secrets.
Exactly.
But I can see that there's an opportunity, perhaps, you know, to have games that respond to players' preferences, for example, you know, if people like very much feature-led games or that sort of thing, or they like certain
Yeah, it's
features,
well
this
that
kind of
yeah,
thing.
I mean that's certainly one of the
Yeah,
things that it offers up is that ability to look at the way a player plays a game
yeah,
and
yeah,
respond to that.
yeah,
Like I
yeah.
say, I don't want to say too much, but it's
Shall
very
we just say
it's
watch
really
this
exciting.
space? Shall
Yeah,
we say
yeah.
watch this space, perhaps?
Yeah, yeah. Watch with interest. I mean, but the interesting thing is, by its very nature, it's sort of invisible.
Mm,
It's which it's one of those things that um like a lot of things, it's there and it works, but you don't necessarily see what it's doing,
yeah,
which is just, it's the nature of how it is. It's and I suppose that's the best way for it to work, really, is for it to just sort of invisibly in the background do its work.
yes. Well, that's the nature of it, isn't it? I think a lot of the people who are sort of very frightened about the idea of AI don't realize how often they've been interacting with it already, because of the fact that it's quietly working away behind a
Yeah,
lot.
I mean, we've been, it's been around for years, really,
Yeah.
in its crudest form, the clunky sort of chat bots that you get on
Mm.
websites when you can't actually speak to a person when you want to. And, it's in one form or another, it's existed for a long
Mm.
time. I
Mm.
think it being branded AI a few years ago sort of gave it a bit more focus.
Mm.
But yeah, it certainly existed before then in one form or another. But it just has become more and more advanced very, very quickly.
Yes.
Um, yeah, and it's about getting your head around how to use it. It's capable of doing many, many things, but it really only does respond to what you ask it to do. So
Definitely.
what we've spent our time doing really is sort of learning how to do that, and sort of work from there, really.
Yeah, fantastic. I've got one quick question for you before we run out of time, which is the Gaming Act, the Gambling Act. Is there anything on there that you're particularly looking out for, Paul?
I, I think probably the same as everybody else, really.
Mm.
I I sort of fair. I sort of look at it, and I don't know whether it's uh, whether anybody else sort of does as well, but I think it just seems to move so slowly
Mm.
that I've sort of almost got a little bit lethargic about building my hopes up and hoping for one thing or another.
Yes, and we
You
have an
know,
election coming up, and gambling laws and not really infamous for winning votes, are they really? So probably it's going to get pushed to the long grass in the next 12 months a little bit.
yeah,
But
yeah. I think it's one of those that we sort of, again, we keep an eye on, but we're
yes,
always very,
yes,
very focused really on
yeah,
how we can make what we've got now work best,
yeah, yeah,
and focus on that 100%, rather than looking and trying to second guess what might happen in the future, uh, because it happens too slowly for us.
that's right.
We're like we're a small boat, so we're a fast moving boat,
Yeah.
which again is why we can be disruptive, and
Mm.
our advantage over a lot of other developers or lot of other game providers, I think, that we have is we can move quickly, and we
Yeah.
do move quickly. um, some of these companies, they're very, very good companies, obviously, but they are oil tankers, and
Mm.
they're very slow to move sometimes, and we don't have that. So you've got to take full advantage of your own advantages, and I think that's an advantage and a strong point that we have. So
Yeah, no,
we continue to
completely. Well,
exploit that,
you've
really.
certainly done an awful lot to introduce, you know, the Tito, the Quonnect, the premium model, everything. We really look forward to seeing it all in all its glory next week.
Yes, yes, and yeah, it has been very busy. Yeah, all of those things, and turning the entire system to full HD, which it wasn't before. A lot of other boring things happen underneath the bonnet of the system and whatnot. But yeah, we've been really, since lockdown, we've been incredibly busy. But fortunately, I think it's been all the right things. Hopefully in the right order. So yeah, we've come a long way, and hopefully that's what people will begin to see when they see the products that we've got on offer at EAG. They'll realise that we're not the FatCat of pre-pandemic that were converting old 777 cabinets and whatnot, and you know it's a very different beast now.
Moved into a new arena.
Yeah, we've come a long way.
Yes, you certainly have. Paul, thank you so much for your time. And
yes, thank you.
We'll see you next week.
Yes, yeah, we'll do it all over again next week.